Look, I like Tearmoon Empire as much as the next guy, but it's disgusting what Silverlink did with the anime. Through 12 episodes, 104 chapters, frame by frame, character by character, to show you everything wrong with Tearmoon Empire. Real quick, the rules: every Tearmoon W earns points, every Empire L loses points. Aight? Episode 1. The princess tried the dish, and Mia actually recognized the tomatoes before trying the dish, comparing them to the ones she was forced to eat back in the dungeon. The chef also wasn't forthcoming with the name of the ingredient Mia inquired about, forcing her to rephrase the question so he wouldn't skirt around it. But the anime did get rid of the just how often she was coming by, which was almost every other day. Even on a conservative estimate, she visited her over 365 times over 3 years to help her wipe down, fix her hair, bring her small snacks, basically every other day to every 3 days.
はい、昔からよく叩かれました。蹴られたこともあったかな。
The anime leaves up Mia's headbutts and her realization that headbutts aren't exactly ladylike.
今の私はあなたの忠義に報いることができませんわ。
The anime does a great job to her feet, as well as the scene that was actually drawn in the novel.
あなたの忠義に報いることができますわ。あなたを今から私の専属メイドにいたします。
The anime designates An as Mia's personal handmaid, which is similar but not the same as a lady maid in waiting. In the novel, it's emphasized just how much of a jump this is in terms of status and earnings. Being the maid in waiting to the princess was the ultimate goal of almost every maid who worked at the palace, and it was not to be filled by a commoner under any circumstances. It's a position meant for the daughters of prominent nobles, as a rule. Any further harassment and bullying, and even made it so that her treatment was drastically better, An was still very skeptical about her new position and why it was her who was appointed. When she asked Mia, she was given the answer that it was due to her deep loyalty and that it wasn't a matter to be discussed further, though An protested initially as she felt no loyalty to anything but the money she was given. While they do show a bit of this apprehensiveness, it could just as well be written off by the viewer as general weariness due to Mia's past temperament. Why did they put Amber Moon tomatoes on her meat plate? Based on the timeline, she should have already fired the old chef in this flashback, and even if not, they are very raw looking there. And carrots? I like carrots though, so only -1. That's it for the first episode. Unless Mia's looking to get an H, she'd best step up her game. Episode 2. Princess Mia displays her smug face. The interaction with the higher-ranking tax official was cut short, but they added more of An's delulu regarding Ludwig and Mia. I hate taxes and like ships, so +2. Ludwig actually voiced her reputation as the selfish princess aloud in the novel. More anime-only delulu from An. The anime cut out the bit where Mia writes in a new journal, and apparently the bloody journal was the future version of the one she's currently writing in, as it includes the words that she had just written, alongside bits from the future that changed as Mia literally rewrote history. Sucks that they cut this cool detail. The guard is far more eloquent in the anime than in the novel. The anime completely cut the flash forward to the district, as well as Mia discussing coming to the New Moon district before setting out. They also cut out Ludwig completely gushing over Mia. While the anime still does a fine job of showing his delulu, it's nowhere near the level it is in the novel. The kid looks more dead in the anime than he sounded in the novel. Helps to sell the squalor. Mia especially took issue with the type of man who stole her hairpin. The tea party is not only cut, but how Mia got a hold of the treats is completely changed, and in my opinion for the worse. I would have preferred them speaking about the tedious tea party and how at least Mia got some free frozen treats out of it, rather than making it so that the treats were bought, and at a discount no less. It glosses over what I believe to be an important characterization for how Mia was before through the lens of her previous life. The so-called best friend who abandoned her when shit hit the fan is a great representation of who Mia was in her previous life. It also left out Mia being self-conscious and recognizing that she wasn't truly acting for altruistic reasons, and in response to the guilt, actually setting out to do something nice with no expectation of personal gain when she shared the treats. An doesn't actually specify her one frail sister, but simply says sisters in general in the novel. We also don't get to meet An's parents nor her other 4 siblings. I see at least 10 fruits in that frozen dessert, and she came with 8 of them. Mia should have known better than to bring fruit around me. We'll see if she can get back in the saddle. Episode 3. Princess Mia sows seeds.
大陸のために古くから信仰されている中央正教会。
We get the explanation for what Noelle Academy is from the narrator rather than Mia's monologue at the start of the episode. While I do like the narrator, this also robs us of Mia's perspective a bit. Chapters 18, 19, and 20 are completely cut, and while it serves to help deepen the relationship between Mia and An and characterize Mia some more, I can understand removing it for pacing reasons. Still sad I got axed.
どうしますか、ミーヤ様。ミーヤ様が困っている人を助けないはずがない。
The anime does a great job showing how Mia was caught between a rock and a hard place with if she should intervene. However, they once again cut one of the few artwork scenes from the novel, that being Mia reaching out to Tiona. Chapter 24 was basically cut, and I think that's actually a good thing considering it's a bit redundant given the contents of chapters 27 and 28.
疲れも一緒に洗い落とされていくようです。
While the anime touches on Mia's love for bathing and why, they leave out that the majority of nobles rarely do more than wipe down. As a fellow bathing enjoyer who learned French so I can refuse to speak it, big props to Mia.
全会議をいたします。え、一体何の？私、理想的な殿方との出会い方を演出したいのですわ。
The anime does a wonderful job replacing the very choppy chapters of Operation Handkerchief Drop and weaves in the 3 chapters of setup and 4 chapters covering the moment together incredibly well. Given the 12 episode constraint and the slightly odd pacing the author had in the source, I think this was a real step up. The anime really toned down just how ruthless Abel's older brother was, as in the novel he decked him, called him chicken shit, and was far crasser. The anime also said he punched Abel, though it was really clearly a slap. Denouncing the unwashed masses of France has led to a massive wave of points. Let's hope Mia keeps galloping forward. Also, as a bonus note, the novel actually has a short story titled Princess Mia Sows the Seeds, literally, and while I won't spoil it here, it is a great read. Episode 4. Shall we dance? The novel goes into more detail on why Remna was so military focused, and it was due to them lacking in effectively every other department. Thus why swordsmanship is so valued there.
私のために自分を磨きなさい。
They abridged Mia's speech a bit and still hit the big points, but in the novel she delivers one of the most Sigma male speeches you could have. Perhaps you feel unworthy of me today, and perhaps that is true. Then what about tomorrow? And if not tomorrow, the day after that? The road of betterment is paved day by day. And who knows for certain where it leads? On the day where you draw your final breath, who's to say that you shall not stand above Prince Sion? No one knows what the future holds, Prince Abel. Not you, not him, and certainly not me. If you cannot trust my words, then allow me to offer you some assurance. I chose you as my dance partner. There is not the slightest possibility that you cannot triumph over Prince Sion, much less your brother. I, Mia Luna Tearmoon, guarantee it.
残念だが仕方ない。
So the anime really undersells just how hurt Sion was getting turned down. There was an entire chapter dedicated to how he felt after the rejection, and the anime downplayed this hard. He was snappy, brattish, and a bit whiny to Keithwood when he spoke about it. And I think cutting this makes him come off as a bit of a Gary Stew. An wasn't actually present when Mia got sneezed on.
おい、あれ見ろ。なんとティアムーン帝国のミーヤ姫。
Apparently, this only elevated Mia from passably pretty to fairly pretty in the public consensus.
ミーガにはただ一つだけ他の誰にも負けない特技があった。
So, in the anime and more so in the novel, it's emphasized multiple times that Mia has the mind of a 21-year-old, and as we see multiple times in both the anime and novel, she does have a thing for Abo, who is currently 12. I ship it.
パーティーに行ってる間、自由にお使いなさい。
The anime leaves out a lot of the details in regards to just how much An did to help Mia, including getting gifts for the commoners who worked at the school in order to build connections.
ミーヤ様のお気持ち、このアンヌ、しかと受け止めました。
Chekhov's dress.
助けてください。お願いです。こんな時、ミーヤ様なら。
The anime makes it seem like An hesitates for a moment to think about what Mia would do, but instead she immediately agrees to help and has a small moment of reflection afterwards in the novel.
どうしよう。どうすれば。
お嬢さん方
An and Leora didn't seem very startled in the anime like they were in the novel. Good on them for being aware.
おしとやかなお姫様かと思ったが意外とじゃじゃ馬なんだな
In the novel, Sian said aloud that he initially thought Mia would be inexperienced. However, he likens their dance to tangoing with a swan, rather than how in the anime he expected grace and got something wild and untamed. Not sure why there is such a discrepancy here.
王子のダンスが上手いだけでしょ。ダンスは一人だけが上手くても空回りするだけなのは。
The anime has Rafina point out that it takes two to tango bit to the gossiping nobles. However, in the novel, Mia and Sion's dance alone was enough to silence the critics. Anime was a bit of a step down in that regard. In the novel, Keithwood uses a knee to the gut and a single arm takedown on the two guards, while in the anime, it's a head kick and judo throw. I took taekwondo though.
双方の技術が高いからこそ実現するもの。
The CGI dance scene from the thumbnail. This mocap from actual dancers was disgustingly good when blended with the 2D animation, which seemed to actually adapt the more complicated dance moves. It completely elevated the novel's dance sequence, and for that, +5. In the novel, Mia actually has to keep herself from fangirling over Sian while dancing due to just how good he is, but I think this was a good cut. Anime left out a curtsy, and man, does Mia have good curtsies! Balances out, so no change. Nah, the animators did Mia dirty. Why are her nails uneven? Me for real? The anime leaves out An taking responsibility for the actions of the Tearmoon nobles on behalf of Mia, which not doing so earned Rafina's ire in the previous timeline and led to them never becoming friends, as the saint was incredibly disappointed with Mia's knowing silence on the matter.
確かにあなたたちの言うことは間違ってはいないのかもしれませんわ。もしここが帝国であったならば。
The anime cut Mia fainting and having a nightmare about the execution upon hearing about the kidnapping incident. After waking, the anime picks back up to with her doing the dismissals. While it cuts out some of the intermediary bits, the important plot points are left in. Unironically, Mia had a brilliant idea when talking to the nobles. The anime downplays this a bit, but it was actually a great redirection of blame while playing up how she was helping them out.
それは少し処分が甘いのではないかしら。ミーヤ姫。
For some reason, they got rid of Rafina's smile. Rafina also doesn't deliver the lines about the two purposes of punishment. No one does, it's narrated. Less crazy cuts here. Commendable. Let's see if Mia mounts a comeback. Episode 5. Princess Mia swoons.
これが最後の一冊だったのに。
The anime moved chapter 45, which covers Mia meeting to the start of the episode. Also doesn't finish the book during the class in the novel.
クロエさんはよく本を読んでいるようですけど、物語とかは読みますの？
Was actually far more wrapped up in her book when Mia came along and didn't respond in anything but stammered words. I think the anime mischaracterizes her and downplays her social awkwardness. Mia is also in control of most of the conversation in the novel. While Chloe's thoughts are basically the same, she gets very few words out versus how she is in the anime.
私、読み友を探しているんですの。
The anime doesn't elaborate on the fact that Mia can't really speak with An about the books her sister makes, as An reads it more out of obligation than enjoyment, and those around her also can't really have deep discussions about the material like she wants. The anime extends the conversation between Mia and Chloe a bit to use it as a lead into the Horse Club. Chapter 41 is also completely cut. However, while it's yet again one where we see the deepening bond between An and Mia, I can't blame them too much due to the 12-episode constraint.
馬とドレス、どちらが尊い存在かは明らかですもの。
Mia doesn't actually voice the bit about valuing a horse more than a dress.
以前のアベル王子はカード遊戯クラブに所属していたはずでしたが。
While Mia does recall Abel belonging to the gaming club in the previous timeline, it neglects to mention that while she was thinking about joining, An stepped in and made sure that Mia went nowhere near those gambling degens.
アベル、お嬢ちゃんと知り合いなのか？だったらちょうどいい。お前が馬に乗せてやれ。
Abel doesn't explain how he's acquainted with Mia like he does in the novel, so the scene has a bit less impact.
ムツム？
大人の余裕は長くは続かなかった。
While Mia shrieks in the anime, in the novel she actually holds it in through great effort.
あら？痛くない？
大丈夫かいミヤ姫
The anime falling scene is just objectively worse than the novels.
だが僕の方がきっと君の気持ちより強いはずだ。
あら、 負けず嫌いですわね。
In the novel, Mia calls Apple a sore loser rather than competitive, implying that she was more sensitive, or in the case of the misunderstanding, liked him more than he liked her.
したか？近くこの学園で剣術大会が行われるみたいなんですよ。
In the anime, Mia hears about the sword fighting tournament from An rather than her girlfriends, who admittedly aren't even named. However, the anime seems to portray that Mia isn't close to or even socializes with anyone but the main characters, which is decidedly false.
アベル王子。
The anime has Mia right in front, while the novel states that she was behind Abel with her arms wrapped firmly around him. Her voice when asking about the lunch was also noted to be timid until she got confirmation that he didn't have prior plans.
でしたら作りましょう。
In the anime, An immediately gives the solution that they should make it themselves, once again cutting out Connection Master An and how she went about gathering such information.
得意な人が見つかりました。本当ですの？早くその方のもとへ連れて行ってくださいな。ミーヤ様、私に何かご用があるとか。
In the novel, Mia was informed that it was Tiona before they went to see her, rather than how it was seemingly sprung upon her in the anime. Though the idea of bringing one to Prince Xian was still thought up on the fly, Mia had to swallow her pride and decide to pay a visit to her. In fact, Tiona was the one who was surprised by the drop-in visit.
なんだか微妙。
Dicey. Speaking of dicey, Mia is really cutting things close with this deficit. Episode 6, The Sword Fighting Tournament. Prince Abel's Fight.
生地の中まで火が通りませんので、だいたいこのぐらいの大きさにしてください。
私の作品だ。
The anime makes it seem like Mia really cries over the horse-shaped dough, when in the novel she quickly brushes it off and Keithwood is made to feel like a demanding child.
お得意のようですね。
はい。千切りでもみじん切りでもお任せください。
ですが、
The anime also has Tiona make over 9 plates of chopped vegetables, when in the novel it was 4. I love vegetables though.
相手は王子様なんですから。
The book title is Exotic Recipes for Exotic Delicacies.
キースウッドさん。この度は大変助かりました。感謝いたしますわ。
The thanks Mia gave to Keithwood stirred him a bit more than was shown in the anime, to the point where he reflects that if he hadn't already met Sion, he too would be a mooner. Oh wait, that's not what—
どれどれ？ミーヤ様。
The anime leaves in the red pepper gag, however, removes the setup for the joke, being that Mia initially thought she was crying due to getting to walk around the festival with true friends.
これより予選第7試合を開始します。
It's actually wild how long we go without learning the name of the older brother, and I find it hella funny. The anime leaves the older brother unnamed? I will too.
だけ成長したか試してやろう。だが弟よ！
Seeing the reflection of the brother's face in the blade is really well done.
お前とあのお姫様が婚姻を結ぶことがあれば、その時は俺がきっちりとしつけてやる。
The anime leaves out a lot of context in the scene where the older brother effectively threatens violence against Mia. In their home country, women do not hold the same rights as men, and Apple has seen his sister, mother, and the maids of the castle abused by his brother. Due to always believing himself inferior in his position as second son, he hasn't done much to change the way things are. However, with Mia causing the change within him, the threat from his brother caused not only those bad memories to resurface, but imagining that also happening to Mia gave him a massive mental amp and allowed him to finally overcome his brother. We miss it on the brother getting stretchered out of the arena.
初戦でお兄様に勝利されて2回戦も勝ってしまうなんてさすがですわ。
I don't know why the anime gypped Abel of his cred. He defeated 2 other older students after defeating his brother.
覚悟してもらおうか、シオン王子。
Apple was noted to not have shaken Sion's hand in their talk before the match, unlike in the anime.
男の子同士の熱い友情、素敵。
We don't get Leora's meat inspection.
これはレムの王国に伝わる第一の構えと言ってね。
Why do they have Abel explaining his attacks like this is a battle shonen? It's not for the viewers, as we already got this during his last match and could see exactly what it's meant to do. In the novel, this doesn't happen.
こんなに追い詰められるなんて父上との鍛錬以来だ。
Sion says he hasn't been pushed back since sparring with his father, when in actuality it was numbness in his arms.
そうか、それはちょっと羨ましいな。
The anime is still downplaying Sion's feelings toward Mia, with him saying he is a bit jealous rather than how he wished he was in Abel's shoes.
ことを決して許さない。これが帝国の H の本質なのだな。
Keithwood actually becomes Delulu for an entire chapter, but they captured the essence of what he was thinking about. We're halfway through and the deficit is pretty steep. Can Mia rein things in? Episode 7. Princess Mia sees clearly. The last chapter of the first volume gets completely cut. Once again, more character building left out for time.
豪華になっていますわ。大月トマトのシチューですって。
The anime once again gets the name of the tomato wrong. She's also saying this stuff out loud for some reason. On screams are actually funny as heck.
お久しゅうございます。宮姫殿下。
Anime does a good job capturing the disparity between Ludwig's facial expressions and what he is saying to Mia in their pleasantries exchange.
数年後の飢饉を説明できないのがもどかしいですわ。
The anime cuts a bit of the back and forth between Mia and Ludwig, but Mia actually says to him in the novel if he trusts her to operate under the assumption that there will be an inevitable famine and how they would prepare for such an event. I'm a bit torn as to which version I like more, but I think Mia sticking to hiding that she effectively knows there will be a famine is more Sasuga.
ようこそいらっしゃいましたわ。フォークラウド卿。
The anime cuts the explanation of Mia's research at the academy about the cause of famine being a distribution issue. They also cut Ludwig's Sasuga Mia moment.
君と友達になってしまうとは。そもそも読み友って何？
飢饉の時と比べてあまりに格安。
The anime leaves out that during the famine, a bag of wheat could buy an entire castle with how high the price was. Comparative to that, the price offered was insanely good for both parties.
自らが汚れ役となり。
The anime does a really good job summarizing this conversation and the events around it, such as Ludwig and the nobles as well as the merchant spirit of Marco.
ているのだ。これが帝国の英知。
Psych! Anime hit us with the delayed gratification Sasuga Miya-sama.
駆け落ち同然で帝都に出てきたとか。そしてあの子がまだ幼い頃に病で亡くなられたのです。
The anime cut out the interaction with the guards that accompanied her in the novel. They also cut out the father being effectively an idol fan of Rufina.
あのような土臭い貴族に一つでも負けているものがあるというのはいかがなものかと。
Anime does a great job covering the setup for the forest altercation.
さすがはアベル王子。
よくお似合いで。
最近毎日のようにつけておりますの。
The anime leaves out the bit from the past timeline about the cursed box made by Berman that caused the deterioration of Mia's relationship with Tiona.
きちんと把握していた。
Anime leaves out Ludwig's thoughts on Mia and her attentions about asking about the forest, figuring she already knows everything he was telling her and was simply confirming with him. The anime changed the in-person talk Dion had with the Viscount to a written order, which I actually think was a great change, as the novel's locations and timelines for the conversation happening seemed to get pretty jumbled up as Dion seemingly teleported from the manor to his camp. Anime did a great job tying everything together with the flashback.
視察へ行ってきてください。
The change with the Imperial Guard makes sense given the lack of inclusion of them in the story thus far. However, in the novel, their devotion to Mia is shown not just in the previous timeline, but also the growing bond Mia has been forming with them to the point where they were ready and actively casting off their armor in order to go protect Mia in the forest, an act that shocked Dion. Ludwig had to actively restrict how many could go with her.
大丈夫ですかい、姫様。
Anime cut out the horse riding segment. While they do a good job summing everything up, they leave out the nuances of how Mia was feeling about her interactions, especially her getting to flex her haughty princess act to the Viscount, the reorganization of the soldiers in the various surrounding villages, and her using the noble's typical behavior against the Viscount in order to keep him in line.
疲れましたわ。
They do a great job here capturing Mia's happy exhaustion and her exasperation at losing the hairpin. Not much change in the score, however, they seem to still have a horse in this race. Episode 8. Princess Mia grins slyly.
あなたにも姫様の協力者になっていただきたいのだ。協力者?
The Ebony Moon Ministry, aka the military, is one of the only branches of the Tearmoon government where Ludwig has no pull, so having someone high-ranking in that department who is loyal to Mia would help further solidify her power as well as help her achieve her goals. Anime does a pretty decent job paraphrasing the rest of the conversation. Here, Dion is carrying a lantern instead of the torches mentioned in the novel, which actually makes sense considering the risk of starting a fire should be lower with a closed flame.
状況なんじゃ。やあ、久しぶり。
The guillotine cameo is anime only, but still very funny.
の後だ。
The arrow marks on the tree seem a bit low.
民街の路上で倒れているところを助けたお礼に、と。
The anime does a great job elaborating and summarizing the situation with the chief and grandson.
落としたのもわざと。
Anime cut the beginning of chapter 13 where Mia effectively hightails it from the area and Dion delulus into thinking that she's just a wise girl with places to be.
愛しき我が娘ミーアよ。
陛下などと申すでない。気軽にお父様がもっと砕けた感じでパパなどとね。
The anime cut some of the doting father bit but still portrayed him very accurately. They also added in Ludwig's reaction to the situation.
紛争地帯へ行ったそうだな。驚きのあまり気を失いそうになったぞ。
A father's voice actor was great with his lines here.
ティオーナさんの弟君のことですわ。
Sadly, the anime continues to cut many of the character building moments in favor of the major plot points. In this instance, it's the chapter where An is wondering why Mia would be so excited at the misfortune of Tiona's younger brother and why she doesn't want him to attend the principality school. She ends up going to Ludwig, and not only does he reassure her, but they engage in exponential mooning. Oh, wait, I didn't...
誤解がないように言っておきますけど、セロ君を通わせる学校、大貴族の方が通うような豪華さはございませんわよ。
The anime cut out more of the intricacies in the meeting between Mia and the Outcount. However, they did a great job adapting the major plot points.
この人もしかしてあれかしら、意地悪とか痛いこととかされると気持ちよくなってしまうみたいなタイプの。はい。
The anime left out that Mia went on an empire-wide tour right after to spread the word of the school she was creating in Princess Town.
あれがなければ私はどうやってギロチンを回避ってあら？
Her reaction to the book disappearing in the anime was spot on, as was the adaptation for most of this episode. We're seeing some progress. Hopefully Silverlink can amp up the horsepower. Episode 9, Princess Mia's Love-Focused Choice.
ミーヤさん、クロエさん、ごきげんよう。ラフィーナ様、ごきげんよう。
They left out another curtsy. No Rafina curtsy either.
クロエは私の親友ですもの。
I don't know why they changed the bit about Mia saying that her and Chloe were best friends to good friends. They also downplayed Chloe's shyness once again.
革命が起こりました。
The revolution scene was adapted near perfectly. We missed out on a near feint, but the depiction of Mia riding the wave, her feelings for Abel, the surrounding discussion, her plea for help, and her allies instantly jumping to her aid was adapted beautifully.
顔を上げなさい、アンネさん。
While the conversation between Rafina and An was a bit different and less intense, it's congruent with how the anime has been portraying Rafina. The only issue is that we never get to see Mastermind An work her magic like we do in the novel.
サンクランド式人工呼吸法。溺れた人がいた場合、直ちに首を横に向け、
Soklin style, artificial respiration.
指などで異物をかき出し、口の中をきれいにしましょう。
そりゃあ私も少しは恥ずかしいこともないではありませんが、これでも大人のお姉さんですもの。
The novel aptly describes Mia as the kind of grown-up to stay away from, and the anime narrator does it just as well.
綺麗なキノコは、そういえば以前料理長が。
Sion didn't pull Mia away from the mushroom like he did in the novel.
やめておいた方がいいな。俺は近くのドニ村で漁師をやってるムジ
The name sounds the same for the hunter, but whoever localized the anime changed it.
カがオランチだ。
We skipped the stalking through the forest trot and the Sasuga Mia's endurance from Sion. The score is starting to become stable as the anime continues to get more faithful. Episode 10, Princess Mia is kidnapped.
戦場で人を切ったことがない。先日のあれが初陣だった。
The anime takes a bit from what was said in the carriage and modifies when Sion says it to Mia in the opening bit about protecting her. Honestly, I like the change as it allows the moment time to breathe versus how it was during the assassin ambush in the novel.
聞いたけど、何でも反乱を収めるために本郷歩兵団ってのを出したって噂だ。
This is the second time the anime has changed the name of something for seemingly no reason. In this instance, they replaced the Diamond Legion with the Adamant Infantry, which takes away the symbolism of how important they are to the king. They even keep the diamond design for the armor, and yet they change the name.
最強の重装歩兵団。
それすっごく強そうですわ。私のこの絵にも何人かスカウトできないかしら。
相手は革命軍とはいえ、この
The musical comedy here is absolutely top notch. I laughed when I wrote this.
アベル王子、お元気かしら。
The anime included snippets from the letters that weren't given in the novel. They also accurately depicted the frustrations. The anime leaps forward a bit chapter-wise in an attempt to keep the timeline from jumping back and forth, and it does a great job in my opinion.
モニカ君。
グレアム様、少々独り言が大きいかと。
The anime also left out that this was the woman who assassinated Abel in the previous timeline.
一平もではありますか。
The anime recontextualizes the impossible task given to the commander, combining the piece from the novel as a flashback as well as expounding on the commander's lack of action and pensiveness.
だが私は白きカラス、アクアだ。
The group name Albus doesn't have a reference in the novels. Instead, it's only ever referred to as White Crows.
あらシオン、あなたもしかして持ち合わせが？
Like if you're a broke boy, just say so.
いや、それが。
案内ご苦労。
Sion actually knocks the boys out in the novel.
まさか 情報を得るためにわざと誘拐されたというのか。
違う。
Narrator got me again. We're almost back to zero. With 2 episodes left, it's time to place your bets. Episode 11, a reunion, a duel, and...
とりあえずくつろいでくれ。
While we skipped them walking to the office, they kept in the chandelier detail, which is a nice touch.
今、お茶菓子でも用意させよ
お茶菓子
They cut the bit where Lambert's sister speaks up and gets snapped at. I think it should have been left in, as it shows that Romano's male chauvinism extends outside just nobility.
う。周囲から補給を受けることは可能だ。
It was noted that a man brought her the cookies, and after trying them, Mia realized he was not to be underestimated. Though the idea that it was in essence Lambert who commissioned the cookies to be brought works too.
レムの王国が他国に対して真に誇れるもの。
The map graphic really helps to visualize the supply chain situation that was discussed.
王宮並みとは言えないが、大きな風呂とベッドがある。
Overall, this scene was adapted very faithfully, and it becomes more and more apparent that if given more runtime, they could have truly adapted everything to an equally high standard.
どうかしたか、宮姫。
We unfortunately miss out on the seductress Mia bit, which was hilarious in the novel.
きなこ鍋美味しいですわ
They cut the pajamas Mia encounter with Shion, presumably for time, but the mushroom soup dream made it in, and I love mushroom soup.
私も行きますわ
We hear more of Mia's internal thoughts in the anime, but they described her flub as a messed up delivery when she actually bit her tongue. Not sure why they changed it, given it's a running gag in this episode that was pretty funny in the novels.
的な間違いを犯したとは思うておらんのよ。
We get an anime-only scene with the perpetrator of the conspiracy and the captured noble, and I really like this addition. I think it makes up for some of the other bits that were cut, at least somewhat.
幸い、セニアは城壁も低く。
I'm not sure why they keep changing the name of things, but in the novel, the city name is spelled Senia with an S. We also don't get introduced to Bernardo Virgil, the adamantine spear. I could understand the name change to Adamant Army if they ever brought up this guy's title, but they don't. They cut out Mia standing with her arms outstretched, but I think this is a good change, as it would have deflated the situation a bit too much and really made her stand out.
なんだお前たち
The anime adds in the infiltration of Mia's retainers, and I think it is a great addition to the situation. In the novel, it is said that Abel didn't wince, but I don't mind the slight change as the entire rest of the battle, from the lead up to the conversation during, the music, and the addition of the commentary from the soldiers was above and beyond. They also added in an anime-only flashback to really punctuate how Mia was feeling that nothing had truly changed. Even down to the teardrop, they did a great job with this climactic moment. Though for some reason they made the adamantine spear a halberd. Actually, he cut steel, not iron.
皆様聞いてくださいませ私はミーアルーニャティアンミュ
And the tongue bit comes back. See, it would have been even better if they didn't change the previous bit.
だってバカバカしいですわ
In the novel, she said ludicrous. Put some respect on my man's name. We are so close, yet so far. Time for the straightaway. Episode 12. To keep what was preciously grown from withering.
知りませんわ
Mia went a bit further in the novel with her verbal beratement of Abel, and I think the anime toning it down a bit is fitting.
俺は謝らなければならない。どういうことだい？
Actually, Xian should be prostrating himself. This is clearly not far enough.
情報によると
Another mention of the fictional town of Xenia.
それならリンシャさんに聞くのがよろしいんじゃないかしら
They cut out the tail end of this scene, including Mia timidly asking Dion for his assistance and the more in-depth analysis surrounding the situation. Notably how, depending on where the blame fell, the rebel leaders could be spared death, and as a result, not increasing tensions among the masses. As if their case was that they were tricked into rebellion and then helped put a stop to the conspiracy, they would get a lighter sentence. And of course, that this was Mia's plan when she befriended them all along.
館内にいる者たちよ、武器を捨てて出てこい。
While the anime paraphrased the capture of the manor and the turncoats, I think given what was left to cover, that it was the correct decision.
戦場で決して言ってはいけないセリフを朗らかに高らかに口にするミーア。せっかくさっきの嫌な予感は外したのに。
The narrator's line read with Mia and the shampoo is great. Making his weapon a sword cane is a nice touch that wasn't present in the novel. He actually whiffs the first and then goes for a second, where they both slip and Mia nails him in the nuts, though consolidating it to one slip, one strike makes more sense to me. With all the episodes done, while it's clear that Tearmoon Empire isn't necessarily a groundbreaking show, all its characters are very likable, and Mia in particular is not only relatable, but the delusion that brings out the best in those around her is incredibly fun to watch. Being able to see her grow as a person and surround herself with real friends is a very rewarding experience, and due to the fact that she wasn't actually remarkable in any areas, as viewers know, makes the whole ride have great comedic undertones that don't undermine the plot but rather enhance the antics. With that being said, the final score for Tearmoon Empire is not looking too good. Wait, what's that sound?